after all you've done for me, I forgive you for my sins, and that's okay. You're welcome.
Howdy, Ace.
Hey, buddy.
You look lonely.
Appearance is everything. Reality is nothing. Isn't that a fun phrase?
Yeah.
Appearance is everything. Reality is nothing. I like to say that to women because they love appearance.
Yeah.
They hate reality.
People judge you in the first 3 seconds, they say, which is judging the book by the cover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Have you ever judged a book by its cover?
Yeah, sometimes you can. I mean, but most of the time, at least with people, you can't. My wife's good at that. She can pretty much judge character just by looking at somebody. She's usually right. But, I give people the benefit of the doubt,
Yeah, baby. Ah.
So you've been busy typing. I was reading it while you were typing.
Uh-huh.
Explaining how hard it was for them way back then to actually do a concordant version.
I know. So you caught some of it.
Yeah.
And doesn't it give you a whole new respect for that little book you're holding in your hands?
When I started doing word studies, which you're describing there, I used to write, I made a form, and on the front of the form, it had boxes for all the verses, and on the back, it would have analysis. But I'd write the verses out by hand.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that for years until I did the word study on love. And I got cramps in my hand. I mean, that's over 300 sometimes verses I was writing out by hand. Oh my God, I got to do something here. So then I started using a computer, I still have some of those old word studies.
Speaking of appearances, everything, reality, nothing. Deborah says she thought 50 Shades of Grey was a book about colors.
That's great.
Appearance is everything. It's nothing.
Mm-hmm. But that's the only way you can learn what a word means, to see how God uses it, because sometimes secular usage isn't the same.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good to go back, especially if a word's used only once or something, to see how it was used. Secular, God purifies those words 7 times before he uses them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So you want to help me read this thing? To find stumbling blocks, typos, and such?
Yeah, we'll help you fix it. Go ahead. Why I Love the Concordant Literal New Testament, Part 2, Thursday morning, 7:09 a.m. here in the Salt Lake Valley, April 23rd, 2026. It's 39 degrees now, 59 later. Oh, you're cool. 40% chance of rain. I've got to tell you about the movable type, dear one. It shows you how dedicated these guys were to getting their work done. You see, today, pretty near everyone has a laptop or a handheld computer device. CE.
Oh, it is CE?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You had devise, like to devise something.
Right. You are correct.
Thus, we all take so much for granted. But way back 110 years ago, when A.E. Nock and his co-workers began the project of getting this new version out there, they wanted to include in the work the concordant Greek text. They figured if you're going to take the scriptures seriously, then you ought to take the Greek text seriously. And since there are over 1,000 ancient Greek manuscripts of the New Testament floating around out there, they settled on the idea of using the 3 oldest known Greek manuscripts to base the translation on. So they laid the 3 oldest Greek manuscripts one over top of the other, and if at least 2 of the 3 agreed, they settled on that to be the Greek text to work with. Get it? If 2 of the 3 manuscripts agreed, that would be the concordant Greek text. Next, they wanted to print up the concordant Greek text for anyone to use. To do so, they needed movable type slugs to build page by page the Greek text. That was how printing was done way back. It was a process called movable type. It was originally created by a guy named Gutenberg. Now, back to our story. Guess what? In the past, we had stores called Toys R Us, but there were never any stores called movable type slugs in the Greek alphabet R Us. Nope, none of the yellow pages, none in the yellow pages, none in a Google search. No Google. You got it. There was only one customer in the world at the time, 1910 or so, for movable type slugs in the Greek alphabet. It was the Concordant Publishing Concern.
One customer. We can't make a business out of this.
No. So I guess they bought a bunch of lead fishing sinkers and a Bunsen burner and set about to make their own Greek alphabet movable typeface. Imagine that, buckets and buckets of A's and B's, etc. in the Greek alphabet, just so you could make each page of the Greek New Testament. This was a labor of love, dear one. If you want a copy of the concordant Greek text, hop over here. It's only $23 and it's a treasure. Now then, once these brothers got a grip on a pretty reliable Greek text, one compiled of the 3 oldest known manuscripts, next they set about making a concordance of each Greek word before they assembled the translation. This is key. You see, all other Bible translations are put together by so-called scholars, and then they make a concordance after they make the translation to help the serious students see through and patch up their work. But if you make a concordance of each Greek word before you make your translation, it goes a long way to eliminating mistakes and eliminating the need for scholars to be right. So a concordant translation is not dependent on scholarship, but upon consistency, and let the chips fall where they may. Now then, after the Greek text comes the work of assembling a complete concordance of every Greek word in the New Testament. And just so you know, they did not have computers back then. So no Excel spreadsheets, no file maker, no easy peasy cut and paste. Hell no. All they had was pen and ink and 3x5 index cards and a huge filing cabinet to hold all the cards. Now, in order to make a concordance, you make a list of all the different words in the New Testament. Then you make a list of all the places where those words show up. Now, the purpose of making this concordance is to pick one English word, the best word possible, to represent each Greek word of the New Testament as best as you can. Admittedly, a one-to-one Greek to English is not always possible, but so what? Do you give up because there's too much work? Come on, dude. We're trying to see what God says here.
Yeah, read that paragraph again. It sounds delightful.
Admittedly, a one-to-one Greek to English is not always possible, but so what? Do you give up because it's too much work? Come on, dude. We're trying to see what God says here.
Sweet.
By the way, Bullinger wrote his first concordance by the time he was 18.
Wow.
That is amazing. They didn't have TV back then, I guess.
Didn't even have drive-in movie theaters.
Yeah. A quick glance of the matter shows that there are almost 8,000 verses in the New Testament, and you're just talking about the New Testament, huh?
Yeah.
8,000 verses in the New Testament. There are almost 5,500 different words and word variations are found in those verses. And there are 319 words in the New Testament that show up 50 times or more. Okay, let's figure this out. In order to make a concordance in the year 1910, before computers and Excel spreadsheets, you're going to need at least 5,000 index cards. So we'll need at least 5,000 index cards and then extra cards to list the 8,000 verses where those 5,000 words show up. Okay, take a swig of coffee and let's get to work. Making the concordance of every Greek word is the most important aspect of this grand project. Yep, you can't argue with a concordance of the Greek words. It's just a list. It's not an interpretation. It's not an opinion. It's just a list of every place where this Greek word shows up. And this is the beauty of it all. You see, if your interpretation or opinion on a given biblical matter is way off, the concordance will unveil the matter to you. Again, the concordance does not interpret the words for you. It just gives you a list of every place where this Greek word or that Greek word shows up. The concordance has no emotion. It has no axe to grind. Unlike Jill, J.G., Eric, and Fred, and the typical fundamentalist preacher, the keyword Greek concordance has no opinion. Also, let's not forget, most concordances are concordances of English translations, like the Strong's Concordance is merely a concordance of the English King James Version Bible. So Strong's might be helpful, it might be misleading. But for our purposes, we want to go back to the source. What the heck does the Greek reveal? Way back in 1920 or so, these guys had assembled a concordant Greek text. Next, they put together a complete keyword concordance of the Greek text. Finally, they put together a translation of the Greek into English, trying to honor both the Greek grammar and idioms and English grammar and idioms without doing too much damage to either. Do you get the feeling that there's a lot of work to be done here? Would you pay $23 for someone to do all that work and then hand you the results? Sounds like a bargain to me. Yeah. So there's the link, and you can get a copy of the Concordant Literal New Testament with the keyword concordance for a mere $23. If you hurry, they have a supply of Concordant Literal New Testaments with keyword concordance in a white hardcover for just $10. That is such a deal.
Yeah.
If you're like me and you love God's Word and you're not afraid to gather a few more facts about various topics mentioned in the Scriptures, stop what you're doing and get your hands on this awesome Bible translation. After all, pouring the hot melted lead into a mold to create the movable type to make the Greek text, and buying some 10,000 to 15,000 index cards to fact check every Greek word and every occurrence, oh my God, you'd think these at the Concordant Publishing concern were the first ever Rain Man Bible translators out there. In other words, details matter, facts matter. Wonder if he was autistic. Because, you know, autistic people really concentrate on one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I still like and use the King James from time to time, and I like some other versions like J.B. Phillips, but there is nothing like the Concordant Literal New Testament. Once you know the care and precision they put into this translation to keep out mere opinion and to let the facts speak for themselves, oh my, it's just an adorable translation. And thank God for A. Enoch and all those who had a hand in bringing this project to light. And thank God for God. Praise to you, as Theo the thanker. The next time you hold the Concordant Literal New Testament in your hands, think of all the hot lead and a 10-foot tall pile of 3x5 index cards everywhere, dude. Yeah, that's the story of it.
Dude.
And then they moved on to the Old Testament, which is 5 times larger.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was quite a project. They're still working on it.
what a blessing it
Yep.
is to us. Yeah. So
We can still get things wrong. And even using that, we can still get things wrong with interpretation because we read what's there and sometimes don't understand it right, you know?
Yep. So yesterday
Mm-hmm.
I quoted the place where Paul says, we don't want to lord it over your faith.
Right.
And at the end of the sentence, it says, you stand in faith.
Yeah.
And yesterday, speaking of getting things wrong, right? Yesterday, for the first time ever, I read the verse and I did not have my fundamentalist evangelical hat on, right?
Right.
Because when I had my fundamentalist evangelical hat on, I would read the verse that says, you must stand in faith. Hurry up. Get it together. You must.
Wow.
Get it?
Wow. Yeah.
I would turn it into a finger pointing tool, you know.
Yeah.
But it doesn't say you must stand in faith. It says you stand in faith.
Mm-hmm.
And the flow of that sentence, read between the lines, it's easy to do. Paul is saying, you encourage me because you stand in faith. And we are
the mutual
co-workers.
faith of one another in Romans 1, where Paul said the mutual faith of us.
Yeah. Both yours and mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're still learning.
Yeah.
And just yesterday, I saw something that I couldn't see for many years, that Paul was making a plain statement. You stand in faith. Cool. Count me in. I want to be with you. You stand in faith. But I swear, Jill, JG Preterist, and those guys, they would be just like any other evangelical fundamentalists. You better stand in faith or there's hell to pay. Are you standing in faith? Prove it to me.
Same thing with those who are led by the Spirit of God in Romans 8.
Mm-hmm.
Believers are being led by the Spirit. It's not, an optional thing. You can still walk by the flesh or walk by the Spirit, but you're still being led by the Spirit.
Ain't that something to figure out?
Talking about word studies. So yesterday I did that teaching on Spirit of Holiness.
Oh, yeah.
Listed about 15 different phrases that are similar.
Mhm.
Spirit of wisdom and understanding, spirit of this and that. It's a common way construction.
Mhm.
It's the spirit concerning or in the realm of wisdom or in the realm of understanding, or it's not actually a tangible spirit.
Right. Morning, Deborah.
Spirit of prophecy. Jesus is the spirit of prophecy,
Mhm. So you're comfortable with the word realm?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of interesting because when I go over to Galatians, because I'm a scholar on Galatians. I don't know if you know this, but I have wrestling matches with JG on Galatians.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had on the card 10 times we were going to read it together. He chickened out after the third time.
I remember that.
Yeah. Anyway, so in Galatians, it says, did you come in by the Spirit and now you're perfected by the law.
Mm.
Right. And so with that verse, I can see why you might say realm, because with that verse, I gingerly say, did you come into this thing with joy and happiness and enthusiasm, and now you're burdening yourself with the law?
Yeah.
Because it just seems to go that way in that particular verse, that you were once happy to come into the faith, and now you're fucking miserable because you can't circumcise yourself enough. You're running out of inch room, right? And this
Yeah.
is what fundamentalism does to a fellow. A lot of people are depressed because they haven't figured out how to please the unpleasable God. And Richard, some people have committed suicide because they couldn't figure out how to please the unpleasable God.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I bet you it's a hell of a lot more people that have killed themselves than what we know. Maybe they just made it look like it wasn't a suicide. I bet, because I mean, I was in that boat. So, oh yeah, the hellfire thing. I've battled depression my whole life, but anyway, and then being in churches where they tell you you're going to hell all the time, or it's kind of hung on your, what is that sword that hangs over your head? I can't remember.
Damocles.
Yeah, that kind of thing. It's always there. You just might not see it, but you know it's there. They've told you enough or insinuated enough, and that now that's in your thinking. But you were talking about faith, and I was thinking, if God is the one who gives you the measure of faith, then what you believe is up to Him.
Yeah.
He gives it to you. So, that was my thought.
Yeah.
I'm reading through this Paul's epistles again, and I said, I understand why people get so screwed up with what he says, because it does like you're supposed to be working at these things, but I'm just interpreting it the wrong way.
The word was written for believers.
Yeah.
We'll seek it out,
So anyway, there's no reason for anybody not to be able to get a copy of that book if they want it. So I've even offered to give send him the book, and he never replied. I said, I'll send you The Problem of Evil, and he didn't say a word. So I guess he doesn't want it.
Everybody should have a copy of that book. My God.
Yeah, I've read that 3 or 4 times. It's really helped me to understand.
When did you first read it, Richard?
Oh, 8 years ago, 9.
Oh yeah.
I've read it several times. I mean, you have to read it several times. It's deep.
And didn't it answer pretty much all of your questions about evil?
It gives the reason for why everything's going on. I mean, it condenses it all into, understandable, in an understandable way. Why is there evil? One ministry I was in, they published a book, Don't Blame God.
What? That sounds like the Christians.
It's called Don't Blame God. And they said, well, in the Old Testament, God didn't really reveal Satan. It wasn't until Jesus came that he was revealed. So they didn't know. So that's why in the Old Testament it says God did this and God did that. But it's really Satan doing it. And so I answered, and I quoted Romans 9. I said, isn't Romans 9 written after Christ was crucified, risen? But it talks about the same thing, that God does things, that he's sovereign. They always want to remove God from evil.
So, Deborah, when did you read The Problem of Evil?
Oh, probably about 4 years ago or so.
And didn't it answer pretty much all your questions? Like, oh my God, this makes sense.
Yeah, I found that there's a purpose to it. That was the problem with churches, and I've asked a number of Christians, well, if there's no purpose or reason for all this evil, doesn't that put the blame on God? He's not stopping it, you know? He's letting it go on and on, century after century. I mean, we know what's going on in the world now more than ever. We've always known there was evil, but so what's the purpose of it? And, well, I don't know. If Satan did it, I have no problem saying God is responsible. How could God be responsible just for the good, but not the? And then you're right, Richard, is that God sent an evil spirit on this person, and God tells him, go out and fight the war and kill all the little babies.
Yeah.
How evil is that? You know, don't bring anything home. Don't bring a cow. What's wrong with bringing a cow home? They got nice cows down there, and I can't get one. And they would try to sneak them in, like God didn't see them, and God said, what's that lowing I hear? I always get a kick out of it. God's got such a sense of humor. Sometimes I'm reading the Bible, I go, what this is nuts, It's just God's just saying, I'm trying to entertain.
As a kid, I read that. I tried to read the Bible myself in my room at night. And when I got to that part about God telling him to kill every creature there, I stopped reading because nobody was there to explain it to me. How could God do that? And I thought, this is not right. So I quit reading it.
Well, it is, if you don't have anybody help you and you're just a kid, and, I could see where you would be really, I mean, I was confused reading this stuff, that's why a lot of people say, well, that's the mean old God in the Old Testament, and Jesus is a nice God who, all he does is send you to hell to burn forever,
Yeah.
Yeah, and you've read that book at least 2 times on your show, Ace.
That's right, yeah.
So you got that 2 times there, and then I've read it 2 or 3 times, and the trouble is, every time I read it, I find new things to underline. So it's all a big mess now.
Yeah.
But there wasn't much information out there, so that was another book. They had to go by the skin of their teeth or whatever, probably writing that, because they had to fight all the Christian churches that didn't believe in this, that God created evil. So,
and that's what got them kicked out of everywhere. Just like us.
Yeah, I've heard people say, oh, you people are making a lot of money off this stuff. You mean like people in, like you, Richard, and Ace and Martin, whoever. Yeah, really, what do we send around a tithe bucket, or I mean, what do you mean they're making a lot of money? It just, you don't make money unless you go along with the flow.
It would cost more than $10 to print that Bible now, the Concordant.
Well, you get the yearly, or I think it's 3 times a year magazine for $1.
Well, that goes up to 20 after the first year. It's supposed to anyway. I mean, you're supposed to subscribe for 20 a year, but still, the printing and the postage and all the work they do on that.
Oh, I definitely send them more, because it's definitely, I know it costs more than that to print anything. Even if you print something in your own home, it's 10 cents a page anyway,
I know, it's crazy.
Ink. So let's say 15 cents a page. So
it's insane, yeah. Well, I didn't know about the Concordance, so I used Bullinger's Companion Bible, which has over 50 appendices in it. And it's I think the first like study Bible. So if you read a verse that says gift, he'll have a little circle next to gift. You go to the right column and it says see appendix so and so. You go look up the appendix and here's a word study on the 9 different Greek words for gift. You know, he was a linguist, I'll tell you, Bollinger. And he was a companion to A.E. Mack.
Yeah, you could spend hours just on one page of his book looking up I did that one time, just looking up all the scriptures and the appendix.
Yeah.
And I spent over an hour, you know, because and he'll even give you sometimes he gives you the page number or something, but it's a lot of luck. Yeah, it's another book that's really worth keeping. It's stood the test of time. It's still here.
Yeah.
Hey, Deborah, don't take off today. I want you to read today's essay because yesterday you got out of here before you could read it.
Yeah, I had some things to do, so didn't want to interrupt you.
Life gets in the way of a really good plan.
Yeah, well, things happen. So anyway, sure, I'll read it.
Oh, by the way, boys and girls, go over to YouTube and do a search for How Can I Keep From Singing by Enya. Okay. Enya was a popular vocalist way back, about 20, 30 years ago. And this song, How Can I Keep From Singing, it's an old Quaker song. And I knew a bit about the Quaker history and movement long before I heard Enya's song on the radio. Okay. And so in the early days of the Quaker movement, they were pretty serious about the gospel. And so the early workers in the Quaker movement, like George Fox, he's the one who started the Quaker movement. George Fox and his co-workers, they would go into a church in a given city or town, like a Presbyterian church or Episcopal church, and they'd sit down like any normal person. And then after the preacher would be speaking for a bit, George Fox and his cronies, shall we call them, they would say, "Come down from there, thou deceiver." And it would upset the Presbyterian preacher or the Episcopal preacher so much that they would walk out of the pulpit. And then George Fox would get up in the pulpit and preach, his take on the gospel, right? Well, this was the 1700s or so. Okay. And because of their, shall we call it aggressiveness, they got thrown in jail quite a bit. And in the 1700s, when you got thrown in jail, it was a scary proposition because the jailer had no obligation to give you a blanket or food or a pillow. All his job was is to keep you locked up until, the law said you could be released. So if you didn't have friends in the town or family to come and bring you some food every day, you were screwed in jail. Anyway, so the Quakers they had a habit of calling each other friends, not Christians. They said we're friends. Anyway, so and so the Quakers had a system, a network of their own being very close to each other, kind of like the telephone tree. You know what a telephone tree is, Deborah? And Deborah fell asleep. You know what a telephone tree is, Richard?
Yeah.
That's where you call 2 people, and those 2 people call 2 people each, and then those 8 people call 2, you know, so the message can get out really fast. Well, these guys, before telephones, had it worked out. The Friends were real connected to each other. The Quakers were real connected to each other. And if one of their clan was thrown in prison, they all got the word out so they could organize, you know, getting food to their brother or sister, food and blankets or whatever they needed while they were in prison. So I knew that history before I ever heard Enya's song. So hang on. Let me bring up the lyrics so you can see what I'm thinking here. Paste it in here at the bottom. Bring it back up so you guys can see it. All right, now keep it in mind. These guys were really serious about their faith. They would get thrown into jail. They called each other friends, and jail was a really dark situation in the 1700s, okay? So here's the lyrics from that Enya song. My life goes on in endless song above earth's lamentations. You know what the word lamentations means, right? It's an old English word. It means lots of trouble, trouble that brings tears to your eyes. My life goes on in endless song above earth's lamentations. I hear the real, though far off hymn that hails a new creation. Through all the turmoil and the strife, I hear its music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest loudly roars? I hear the truth, it liveth. What though the darkness round me grows? Songs in the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that rock I'm clinging. Since love is Lord of heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? When tyrants in their fear and in their death knell ringing, when friends, get it, friends, rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? In prison cell, in dungeon vile, our thoughts to them are winging. When friends, get it, Quakers friends, when friends by shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing? So when I first heard this song from Enya on the radio, I knew the complexity of the backstory here. And every time I heard that song on the radio, it brought tears to my eyes.
I love that song. It makes me sing.
Kind of reminds me of It Is Well With My Soul.
Yes, exactly.
Background of that song. Every time I heard that song, I remembered what that man went through.
Oh my God, that's right.
His family died in a shipwreck or something. I can't remember.
Yeah.
And he was alone. I think one of his children lived. He had kind of a big family though. And but can you imagine that kind of faith? Wow. Yeah.
Okay, you want to take a run around the track, Deborah?
Well, I'm wondering about those churches back in the 1700s. How come they didn't have ushers to usher those guys out when they started telling the preacher what to preach, you know? I mean, you wouldn't get very far this today. Somebody'd be right there to tell you to go, you either get lost or we're calling the cops, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Get in line.
Huh?
Get in line.
Yeah, they did call the cops on them. That's why many of
That's right, they did.
many of the friends ended up in prison.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they didn't call him on the phone though. But anyway, whatever. Okay, I'll start reading. Why I Love the Concordant Literal New Testament, Part 2. I've got to tell you about the movable type, dear one. It shows you how dedicated these guys were to getting this work done. You see?
Wait, let me interrupt you. So I was telling a friend of mine about the movable type, and he's not a Christian brother. He's, he couldn't care less about this. He's one of my old marketing buddies, right? But sometimes we talk marginally about the things of God because he's quite familiar with fundamentalism and the trouble they cause. Anyway, so he's happy whenever I bring up the subject. And anyway, so I was telling him about movable type, and he said, "Oh my God, I know that. I know movable type because in my high school, we were in a typesetting class." And he said, I picked up some of the type and I was throwing it across the room because I was only 12 years old. I didn't know any better. And then I got busted by the teacher for throwing away that movable type or throwing it around, abusing it. And he said, once I came to learn how much work went into making movable type at 12 years old, I felt guilty about not honoring those buckets of movable type. And he said to me, here he is about 56 years old. He said, I still feel guilty about it to this day. And I thought, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, that's a good way to learn your lessons is look into history of things,
Yeah.
Because we take so much for granted. I mean, everybody's got a cell phone now. What about the guy that got the first phone? I mean, wow.
First phone, he says, hey, who can I call? Nobody.
I got to wait for Mildred down the street to get her phone. And then I have to go through the operator to, I mean, we're really spoiled brats these days. I'm telling you. But it's where God puts us. So, okay, I've got to tell you about the movable type, dear one. It shows you how dedicated these guys were to getting this work done. You see, today, pretty near everyone has a laptop or handheld computer device. Thus, we all take so much for granted. But way back 110 years ago, when A. Enoch and his co-workers began the project of getting this new version out there, they wanted to include in the work the concordant Greek texts. They figured if you're going to take the scriptures seriously, then you ought to take the Greek text seriously. And since there are over 1,000 ancient Greek manuscripts of the New Testament floating around out there, yeah, I saw one floating by the other day, I almost got it. I think my neighbor got it, They settled on the idea of using the 3 oldest known Greek manuscripts to base the translation on. So they laid the 3 oldest Greek transcripts one over top of the other, and if at least 2 of the 3 agreed, they settled on that to be the Greek text to work with. Get it? If 2 of the 3 manuscripts agreed, that would be the concordant Greek text. Next, they wanted to print up the concordant Greek text for anyone to use. To do so, they needed movable type slugs to build page by page. Yeah, I forgot about it. That would be a lot of work right there.
Right.
Page by page of Greek text. That was how printing was done way back. It was a process called movable type. It was originally created by a guy named Gutenberg. Now back to our story. Guess what? In the past, we had stories called stores called Toys R Us. But there were never any stores called movable type slugs in the Greek alphabet R Us. Your humor is weird, but I like it sometimes. It's just, I know it's nope, none in the yellow pages, none in a Google search. That must have been the customer that had the phone back then. I didn't see her write this. I know, So when I made those comments, you got it. There was only one customer in the world at the time, 1910 or so, for movable type slugs in the Greek alphabet. It was a Concordant publishing concern.
Oh my God, that's such a funny paragraph to me.
Yeah.
Hey,
So they
where do I go to find movable type slugs?
Well, they were still using them back in the 1900s, right? So,
but nobody had Greek alphabet.
Oh, the Greek. That's yeah. So I guess they bought a bunch of lead fishing sinkers and a Bunsen burner and said about making their own Greek alphabet movable face type. Yeah, I suppose it would be kind of expensive having it made by somebody else. Imagine that, buckets and buckets of A's and B's, etc., in the Greek alphabets, just so you could make each page of the Greek New Testament. This was a labor of love, dear one. If you want a copy of the Concordant Greek text, hop over here. It's only $23, and it's a treasure. Now then, once these brothers got a grip on the pretty reliable Greek text, one compiled of the 3 oldest known manuscripts. Next, they set about making a concordance of each Greek word before they assembled a translation. This is key. You see, all other Bible translations are put together by so-called scholars, and then they make a concordance after they make the translation to help the serious students see through and patch up their work. But if you make a concordance of each Greek word before you make your translation, it goes a long way to eliminating mistakes and eliminating the need for scholars to be right. So a concordant translation is not dependent on scholarship, but upon consistency. And let the chips fall where they may. Now then, after the Greek text comes the work of assembling a complete concordance of every Greek word in the New Testament. I'm already tired reading this, all that work. I need to go to bed. I know, I've written out the scriptures before, like you did, Richard, by hand, because I was studying a word and I thought I might write it, after about and not even writing the whole scripture, just writing the portion of it that makes you remember it. And I thought, can you imagine writing out the whole scripture and all that? And just so you know, they did not have computers back then. So no Excel spreadsheets, no file maker, no easy peasy cut and paste. Hell no. All you had was pen and ink and 3x5 index cards and a huge filing cabinet to hold those cards. Now, in order to make a concordance, you made a list of all the different words in the New Testament. Then you make a list of all the places where these words show up. Now, the purpose of making this concordant is to pick one English word, the best word possible, to represent each Greek word of the New Testament as best you can. And another thing is, you have to count, make sure you got every single word. So you can't leave one word, like if there's 155 words that's about love.
Yeah.
What if you only have 154? Where's
Right.
the lost one? I mean, I can imagine the hair tearing that went on trying to put this together. Admittedly, a one-to-one Greek to English is not always possible, but so what? Do you give up because it's too much work? Come on, dude. We're trying to see what God says here. A quick glance at the matter shows that there are almost 8,000 verses in the New Testament, and there are almost 5,500 different words and word variations found in those verses, and that there are 319 words in the New Testament that show up 50 times or more. So let's figure this out. In order to make a concordance in the year 1910 before computers or in Excel spreadsheets, you're going to need at least 5,000 index cards. Oh my God. Have you bought index cards lately?
No.
No, they are cheap. They're so thin. They remember how thick they used to be?
Yeah.
They aren't like that anymore. They're you can use them once and you have to throw them away. They literally fall apart on you. They're so cheap. They cost just as much or more, but anyway. So they had good index cards back then, I'm sure. So we'll need at least 5,000 index cards and then extra cards to list the 8,000 verses where those 5,000 words show up. Okay, take a swig of coffee and let's get to work. Making the concordance of every Greek word is the most important aspect of this grand project. You can't argue with the concordance of the Greek words. It's just a list. It's not an interpretation. It's not an opinion. It's just a list of every place where this Greek word shows up. And this is the beauty of it all. You see, if your interpretation or opinion on the given biblical matter is way off, the concordance will unveil the matter to you. Again, the concordance does not interpret the words for you. It just gives you a list of every place where this Greek word or that Greek word shows up. The concordance has no emotion. It has no axe to grind. Unlike Jill, J.G., Craig, and Preterist, and Sergeant Smith, and whatever his name is, I don't know, and the typical fundamental preacher, the keyword Greek concordance has no opinion. Also, let's not forget most concordances are concordances of English translations. Like Strong Concordance is merely a concordance of English King James Bible. So Strong's might be helpful, it might be misleading, but for our purpose, we want to go back to the source. What the heck does the Greek reveal? Way back in 1920 or so, these guys had assembled a concordant Greek text. Next, they put together a complete keyword concordance of the Greek text. Finally, they put together a translation of the Greek into English, trying to honor both Greek grammar and idioms and English grammar and idioms without doing too much damage to either. Do you get the feeling that there's a lot of work to be done here? Would you pay $23 for someone to do all that work and then hand you the results? It sounds like a bargain to me. And then you can go to concordant.org for that. There you can get a copy of the Concordant Literal New Testament with the keyword concordant for a mere $23. If you hurry, they have a supply of Concordant Literal New Testaments with keyword concordance in a white hardcover for just $10. If you're like me and you love God's Word and you're not afraid to gather a few more facts about various topics mentioned in the scriptures, stop what you're doing and get your hands on this awesome Bible translation. After all, pouring the hot melted lead into molds to create the movable type to make the Greek text and buying and using some 10,000 to 15,000 index cards to fact check every Greek word. They could have bought a computer with all these cards, my God, you'd think the boys at the Concordant Publishing Concern were the first ever Rain Man Bible translators out there. In other words, details matter, facts matter. Listen, I still like and use King James from time to time, and I like other translations like J.B. Phillips, and there's nothing like the Concordant, but there's nothing like the Concordant Literal New Testament. Once you know and care and precision they put into this translation to keep out mere opinion and to let the facts speak for themselves, oh my, it's just an adorable translation. And thank God for A. Enoch and all those who had a hand in bringing this project to light. And thank God for God. Grace to you, A. Theo, the thinker. See, you got a lot of title. What are you, a reader? You're a thinker? Were you a thinker too?
Yeah.
What else are you? You're the patient. Ace Theo, the patient man or something. Anyway, next time you hold the Concordant Little New Testament in your hands, think of all the hot lead in a 10-foot pole pile a tall pile of 3x5 index cards everywhere. Dude. So was the man giving words to look through? How did they? That was what I was under the presumption of. I think you talked about this, or I read it, that each man was given certain words to look up and to study. Is that how it worked?
Yeah, there wasn't necessarily to study. Just look up these words in every place where this word shows up. And one of the helpful things that moved them along was Wigram's Englishman's Greek Concordance.
I have that.
Yeah, because Strong's is a concordance of the King James, but Wigram's is a concordance of the Greek words. And so
Yeah.
they had that available, and that surely was a help to the whole project.
Yeah, we could do a whole study on all the work that went into making it Wigram's and Strong's, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, not that we need to, I'm just saying. All these thousands and thousands of hours that these men, and maybe there were women somewhere, I don't know, put into this. So, and we get to enjoy the final product. Thank God.
Thank God for God.
Yeah. And thank God for Ace, because you look into a lot of these things to bring to us too, you know. So, I mean, you could spend years and years reading all the articles on the Concordant. I mean, I've spent a couple hours just reading, you know, a few of their articles. Yeah, I remember I was in L. Ray Smith's group back in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know that he had talked about the Concordant Bible until I got into, you know, Martin Zender I think you're the one that mentioned that he had talked about that Bible. And so when I'm reading some of his old articles and stuff, he'll mention that Bible, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But back then I'd never heard of it, or I didn't pay any attention. But now it's, you know, really been a wonderful Bible to have for me.
Mm-hmm.
Helped me a lot.
Yeah.
They need a dictionary thing in the back of the Old Testament one, but it probably weigh about 10 pounds if you had that.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, it's pretty big. So
instead of a doorstop, you'd have a roadblock, a highway roadblock.
Yeah. Well,
to stop
you
invaders from driving down your street, your neighborhood street.
Well, if somebody breaks into your house, you could just knock them on the head with one of the save your life. Yeah, that Bible saved my life.
Who needs to buy a 11-pound medicine ball when you can buy a complete Old Testament with its keyword concordance?
Yeah, you get two uses out of it.
Yeah.
Protection and for protection from your body and protection in your mind, you know.
And you could use it in the kitchen. You could stand on it to get to the top of the cupboard to get that can of milk.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Very functional. So many benefits.
Yeah. And it's just a all around good tool, you know. One of those old fashioned things you can use, you know. Yeah.
So, Ace, I see you're smoking a cigar today?
No, it's still a pipe. I love cigars, but I'm a
Oh,
cheapskate.
I thought I saw one. Was that a writing utensil or something?
It's a tamper.
Oh, yeah, it looked like a cigar.
I notice that too every once in a while. I think, is he smoking a cigar? Because it's just the shape of it and
Yeah,
looks more cigar-like. Unless you have a different pipe that might be the one. Yeah.
a tamper. Yeah, see the end now.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yep.
they don't make those for the glass pipes. So
No.
yeah, that's what I have to. I have grown my own tobacco. Finally got one that grew, and so I went and got a glass pipe from the tobacco shop.
Come on, Debbie. We know what you're using that glass pipe for.
Yeah, right. Those days are long gone. Although I understand why people still use it. I mean, it's got a lot of good qualities. You know,
Yeah.
they've said that people who have epilepsy it can almost cure it. You know, I mean, they have to keep smoking it, but still, once they get epileptic
Yep.
seizures, if they start smoking it, then they'll stop. And there's things they use it for cancer patients too. The serum, I think, type of thing. I'm not sure.
Glaucoma, a bunch of things.
Yeah, and hemp is there's nothing like hemp. That's not pot, but they try to get people to think it is. So it's illegal in some states. You make clothes out of it. You can make
Paper. You can even make paper cheaper than how they make paper now.
that's what they made the Constitution on, and it's still there. Of course, it's protected, but still. And then fuel for cars. I think Ford came up with that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
From hemp. Yeah, I
Wow.
read about it. It was just the things they did with it. Oh, and the trees grow so fast that you could have a supply of trees for burning. Fuel. If you have a wood stove, you can burn it. I mean, they grow within a couple of years, so you know.
Yep. God-given plant.
Yeah. Yeah, so many plants out there that just have all kinds of medicinal qualities to them. And people that are more into nature know what they do. So I'm starting to learn more about it myself. Sure cheaper than big pharma,
Yeah. With less side effects. I'm amazed at all those drug commercials. They seem to be the most I see, and they always have these disclaimers. It can cause death, blindness.
Let
Your
me
glaucoma will heal.
let me repeat one for you, Richard.
You get anal leakage from this.
Yeah. Ask your doctor if bleeding out your butt is right for you.
Oh, and another thing they do in the commercials is when they're giving all the bad qualities about their drug, they use bright lights and try to make it look, like it's not such a big deal, And then when they're talking about other ways you could cure, they make it real dark, Oh, you can't use these products because they're not good for you, But
So, Deborah, could you take a look at the call out on the screen and turn it into a song for Tim Theo?
Oh, let me get my singing voice. You are wiggling out of the question that I am asking you in all sincerity, Tim or Agent Smith. Do you believe that your actions is what ultimately saves you? Off the cuff, that's
Save yourself.
It's a #1 hit, boys and girls. Welcome, Jim.
When I tell people, I've told somebody that I didn't have anything to do with my salvation. It's all God. He's the one that saved me. He's the one that gave me the grace. He gave me it all. They said, oh, no, you had a part in it too. I said, no, I didn't. He did it all.
He did it all.
And they don't get it. And I said, I wouldn't have got it either. I said, well, don't you have to accept him? Don't you have to believe? Don't you have to do something? You know,
You have to do something.
But when you get to the point where you're flat out, it ain't me, nothing to do with me, it's all God, then he gets all the glory.
Yeah.
I don't get any glory for asking him to save me because I didn't. He just did it. I don't know how he did it. You know, yeah, I did the studying to understand some of these things, but he's the one that put it all together and it made sense, you know.
Yeah.
I couldn't make sense of it. I tried making sense of salvation of all on my own. It wouldn't jive. So I don't know these people that say that. I don't know.
People believe in electricity. When they turn a switch on, they believe the light's going to go on, but they didn't choose to believe it. They believed it because it worked.
Yeah. Well, you start but I mean, even here on Earth, when we have faith, well, I have faith my truck's going to start. Well, it started 99.9% of the time. There's just that 1/10% that it doesn't start. So I'm going with the 99.9, right? But even on Earth, we know that there's still that 1/10% time when, you know, the lights don't go on, the truck doesn't start. But generally, it's going to work, you know.
Yeah.
That's where our faith comes in. But it's all flawed with God. There's no 99%, you know. It's 100,000%. It's going to work. So.
Yeah.
Welcome, June.
Yeah, I was going to say good morning, everyone. What you guys are doing?
Hey.
Good afternoon. But yeah, I was just going to say I've also spoken to people that were like, I would ask them, so are you going to hell or heaven when you die? And they're like, I don't know. It's up in the hands of God. And I'm just like, so you're just fine, just like living your life normally, and you have eternity of hell to look forward to potentially?
Yeah. You wonder, where are their priorities? Wouldn't you think billions and trillions of years in hell would be a thing you should look into more than the few years you have here on Earth? You know? Well, that's why being in Universal is so great, because everybody's in, you know. We don't put anybody, we're all coming home to God.
So June, you want to take a read for us?
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Okay, take
Why?
a swig of coffee first.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Why I love the Concordant Literal New Testament, Part 2. Thursday morning, 7:09 a.m. here in the Salt Lake Valley. April 23rd, 2026. 39 degrees now, 59 degrees later. 40% chance of rain. I've got to tell you about the movable type, dear one. It shows you how dedicated these guys were to getting this work done. You see, today, pretty near everyone has a laptop or a handheld computer device. Thus, we all take so much for granted. But way back 110 years ago, when A. Enoch and his coworkers began the project of getting this new version out there, they wanted to include in the work the concordant Greek text. They figured if you're going to take the scriptures seriously, then you ought to take the Greek text seriously. Since there are over 1,000 ancient Greek manuscripts of the New Testament floating around there. They settled on the idea of using 3 oldest known Greek manuscripts to base a translation on. So they laid the 3 oldest Greek manuscripts one over the top of the other. And if at least 2 of the 3 agreed, they settled on that to be the Greek text to work with. Get it? If 2 of the 3 manuscripts agreed, that would be the concordant Greek text. Next, they wanted to print the concordant Greek text for anyone to use. To do so, they needed movable type slugs to build page by page the Greek text. That was how printing was done way back. It was a process called movable type. It was originally created by a guy named Gutenberg. Now back to our story. Guess what? In the past, we had stores called Toys R Us, but they were never any stores called movable type slugs in the Greek alphabet RS. No. None in the yellow pages, none in a Google search. You got it. There was only one customer in the world at the time, 1910 or so. For movable type slugs in the Greek alphabet, it was a concordant publishing concern. So I guess they bought a bunch of lead fishing sinkers and a Bunsen burner and set about making their own Greek alphabet. Movable typeface. Imagine that. Buckets and buckets of A's and B's, etc. in the Greek alphabet just so you can make each page of the Greek New Testament. This was a labor of love, dear one. If you want a copy of the concordant Greek text, hop over here. It's only $23 and it's a treasure. Now then, once these brothers got a grip on the pretty reliable Greek text, one compiled of the 3 oldest known manuscripts. Next, they set about making a concordance of each Greek word before they assemble a translation. This is key. You see, all other Bible translations are put together by so-called scholars, and then they make a concordance after they make the translation to help the serious student see through and patch up their work. But if you make a concordance of each Greek word before you make your translation, it goes a long way to eliminating mistakes and eliminating the need for scholars to be right. So concordant translation is not dependent on scholarship, but upon consistency, and let the chips fall where they may. Now then, after the Greek text comes the work of assembling a complete concordance of every Greek word in the New Testament. And just so you know, they did not have computers back then. So no Excel spreadsheets, no file maker, no easy peasy cut and paste. Hell no, all they had was pen and ink and 3x5 index cards and a huge filing cabinet to hold all the cards. Now, in order to make a concordance, you make a list of all the different words in the New Testament. Then you make a list of all the places where the words show up. Now, the purpose of making this concordance is to pick one English word, the best word possible, to represent each Greek word of the New Testament as best as you can. Admittedly, a 1-to-1 Greek to English is not always possible, but so what? Do you give up because it's too much work trying? Come on, dude, we're trying to see what God says here. A quick glance of the matter shows that there are almost 8,000 verses in the New Testament, and there are almost 5,500 different words and word variations are found in those verses. And there are 319 words in the New Testament that show up about 50 times or more. Okay, let's figure this out. In order to make a concordance in the year 1910, before computers, Excel, and spreadsheets, you're going to at least need 5,000 index cards. So we'll need at least 5,000 index cards and then extra cards to list the 8,000 verses where the 5,000 words show up. Making the concordance of every Greek word is the most important aspect of this grand project. You can't argue with the concordance of Greek words. It's just a list. It's not an interpretation. It's not an opinion. It's just a list of every place where this Greek word shows up. And this is the beauty of it all. You see, if your interpretation or opinion on a given biblical matter is way off, the concordance will unveil the matter to you. Again, the concordance does not interpret the words for you. It just gives you a list of every place where this Greek word or that Greek word shows up. The concordance has no emotion. It has no axe to grind, unlike Jill, J.G., Eric, and Prep. And the typical fundamentalist preacher. The keyword Greek concordance has no opinion. Also, let's not forget the most concordances are concordances of English translations. Like the Strong's Concordance is merely a concordance of the English King James Version Bible. So Strong's might be helpful, it might be misleading, but for our purposes, we want to go back to the source. What the heck does the Greek reveal? Way back in 1920 or so, these guys had assembled a concordant Greek text. Next, they put together a complete keyword concordance of the Greek text. Finally, they put together a translation of the Greek into English, trying to honor both Greek grammar and idioms and English grammar and idioms, without doing too much damage to either. Do you get the feeling that there's a lot of work to be done here? Would you pay $23 for someone to do all that work and then hand you the results? Sounds like a bargain to me. There you can get a copy of the Concordant Literal Testament with the keyword concordance for a mere $23. If you hurry, they have a supply of Concordant Literal New Testaments with keyword concordance in a white hardcover for just $10. Sorry. If you're like me and you love God's word and you're not afraid to gather a few more facts about various topics mentioned in the scriptures, stop what you're doing and get your hands on this awesome Bible translation. After all, pouring the hot melted lead into molds to create the movable type to make the Greek text and buying and using some 10,000 to 15,000 index cards to fact check every Greek word and every occurrence. Oh my God, do you think the boys of the Concordant Publishing Concern were the first ever Rain Man Bible translators out there? In the other words, details matter and facts matter. Listen, I still like and use the King James from time to time, and I like some other versions like the J.B. Phillips, but there's nothing like the Concordant Literal New Testament. Once you know the care and precision they put into this translation to keep out mere opinion and to let facts speak for themselves, oh my, it's just an adorable translation. And thank God for A. Enoch and all those who had a hand in bringing this project to light. And thank God for God. Grace to you, Ace Theo the Thinker. P.S. Next time you hold the Concordant Literal New Testament in your hands, think of all the hot lead and 10-foot tall pile of 3x5 index cards everywhere. Dude, sweet.
Dude, sweet is right. I only put dude. You know the truth. It's dude, sweet, dude.
Where are the naysayers when you need them? After all this evidence that you're given here, not one of them shows up.
They can't argue with this. I didn't say anything of my opinion. I'm just listing a
I
bunch
know.
of facts.
I know that they can't argue that.
Yeah. I didn't even mention any theology, any particular theology in part 1 or part 2.
That comes later after you start reading.
Yeah. Then it melts your theology and you got to go, oh my God, I have to think a new thought. Don't make me think a new thought. That's horrible.
Well, yeah, you have to be flexible, like the tree, you blow at the wind or whatever, to understand truth, because we get it wrong so often. You say, I didn't know that wasn't true. Well, God doesn't give it all to you at the same time.
Okay, Deborah, we have a second verse here on this song. Could you take it up and sing the second verse to us?
I thought that was the same verse. Second verse, same as the first.
Yeah, kind of.
Well, you guys have to help me out. I'm not in the key of E, E flat, whatever. Are you guys going to sing with me, or?
All right, I'll try. I'll help out too. Go ahead. You're the conductor.
Theo
Theo
is the. I'm trying to think of a song that I could put these words to. It's unable to give direct yes or no answer to
yes or no
to my question. Tim, do you believe that is what ultimately saves you?
It's what ultimately saves you.
You gotta have a save you.
Never mind what Christ did on the cross.
Tell us why this essay is wrong, Tim.
So let's jazz up this song and make it more like an opera. Tim Theo is unable to give a direct yes or no answer to my question. Oh, I know. We'll make it like
Tim, do you believe direction is what ultimately saves you? That's my best operatic voice. And it's the worst too. So I'm not reading over there and seeing if he's doing any replying to this, but probably not.
I think he's out of the loop at the moment.
Yeah. He usually leaves after he gets his head beat a little bit, So you have too many questions, that he can't answer, and he leaves.
Tim Theo is unable to answer a direct question, yes or no. Tim Theo, do you believe your actions is what ultimately saves you?
We should sing it too. And he shall live. What's that song? Forever and ever. It's, do you believe your action is what ultimately saves you? Kind of in that type. I was trying to think of what song would go with that writing there. Huh.
Have you ever seen the
about to establish their own righteousness?
yeah. Have you guys ever seen the Phantom of the Opera?
Yeah.
I think I saw it on TV one time.
Did you see it live, Richard?
Yes, at a theater in Minneapolis.
Man, wasn't it something?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you know this, Richard, but it was created. The Phantom of the Opera was created by Frank Lloyd Webber.
Yes. A
Right.
Jew.
Huh?
He's a Jew.
Yeah, well, that seems to be irrelevant at the moment. But Yeah, so he created the Phantom of the Opera, and not many people know this, but he also created the Weber grill. You've heard of the Weber grill?
Wow.
And
That was his brother who made the Weber grill. You forget.
well, not many people know this, but every Weber grill has some electronics at the bottom of it, you know, and it pipes in some inaudible subconscious music, so that that's why everybody who buys a Weber grill feels the need to go out and buy a ticket to the Phantom of the Opera. And they don't understand it. Yes, sir. It's called Crossmark.
Now I want to buy a Weber grill so I can see if I get a desire to go to the opera. How much will that cost me? And then when I don't want to go, I'll say, "You made that up, eh?" So I just spent $150 to prove you're wrong. No, I don't know how much they weren't that expensive. I think I've had one before, like $30 or $40 or something. Not less. I'm thinking of another kind of grill.
Weber wrote Jesus Christ Superstar with Tim Rice too, and they left Jesus in the grave.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember reading that he wrote that. Yeah, he didn't resurrect, huh?
Nope. And the big song at the end is Jesus Christ, who are you? What have you sacrificed? Who's Buddha? Was he pick of the crop too?
Yeah.
He just asks questions, no answers. And it kind of glorifies Judas at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that movie that they put out with that about that.
But this is how God works. When I was a kid, I listened to that, and I didn't hear any of that stuff because I wasn't knowledgeable enough. But I heard about Jesus Christ and Him crucified.
Yeah. But we were only getting part of the story, right?
Right.
I mean, I would tell people I went to Episcopal Church and I didn't know anything about God there. Went there for years. And I had to get baptized and I didn't know what the hell all that was about. I mean, nobody ever explains stuff to you in a lot of these churches when you're a kid.
No, and they can't.
And if you ask questions about it, they just say, well, you'll learn this when you get older.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what they're doing, you know?
Right. Following the script.
But once you know what he really did for us, then it becomes really powerful.
Yeah. Then they don't like you anymore. You can find another church. So I asked, one preacher told me that once. I said, well, where am I going to go? They're all the same.
Well, I thought if I found the right church, I just kept going to different churches because I thought eventually I'll find the church that teaches the truth.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, they all teach some truth, but there were so many errors. And of course, they didn't like you asking too many deep questions.
No.
I'm gone to seminary for 4 years, and who are you to ask me questions, you know? They didn't actually say that, but you kind of get that gist from them. Which just made me think they don't know the answers either, you know?
They have their systematized error.
But they wear nice suits.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. The churches have kind of dumbed down as far as clothing goes too. They wear stretch pants and t-shirts and all that kind of stuff now.
Did you say stretch pants?
Well, whatever kind of pants they wear. Spandex, maybe. Depends on what kind of church you're going to.
They got to dress for the stage.
I wonder what Paul looked like after he'd been traveling around with his suit and tie, and after his 5th trip, and he hadn't taken a bath in maybe because he'd been on boats and whatever.
Yeah.
I just wonder if you want to go back to the days when they dressed like that. They're dressed in their dress. Why? Who says that you have to wear a suit and tie and nice shoes and all that stuff? I want to know a good sermon. I don't care if you're dressed like.
Where are my holy shoes? I can't find them.
Your what?
My holy shoes.
So speaking of the dress code at church, I remember hearing an interview with an old blues musician. I think it was Taj Mahal. I can't remember. It was a long time ago. Taj Mahal said his wife kept bugging him to go to church with her, right? So he said, okay, let's go. And she said, well, you can't wear that. You got to dress up. So he went into his bedroom and put on his tuxedo. He came out in the tuxedo and she said, you can't wear that. Tell you, there's just no winning.
So then she said he didn't have to go, I bet.
Can you imagine somebody showing up in a tuxedo at church?
Like I said, not nowadays. I don't know all churches, but most of them are pretty. You wear what you normally wear every other day, or every day. You don't. Now maybe Catholic or Baptist or something like that, they dress up more, but I don't know. You have too many people if you're going to get too fussy about what they wear.
Had a Mormon friend years ago who he weighed 300 pounds and he went to church in bibbed overalls.
Oh, yeah.
He said they came unglued and actually fussed at him, for not dressing properly.
Well, like you say, appearance is everything, because appearance covers up all the other things that are wrong with your church, because you look so fine. Look at all these nice, well-dressed people here. And you notice that in a lot of cults too.
You ever read that old poem called Ode to a Louse?
No, but it sounds kind of different. Interesting, maybe.
Yeah, it's a poem from the 1800s. And you know what a louse is?
It's a bomb or a creepy person, or
no, it's one lice.
Oh,
one head lice. And so
well, they used to call people who were no good louse. You're a louse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a parasite.
Well, okay, I thought that was what a louse, but I didn't. When you said the name of the poem, I was thinking of a person.
Well,
lousy.
Yeah,
that's
right. So in this poem, it's about this person who goes to church, and she's sitting behind a woman who's dressed all prim and proper, to look good for church. But there's this louse crawling on her decorative hat.
Hmm.
And so it's a poem dedicated to that one louse who.
Wow. ruined your whole look. You know, just one louse.
Yeah. Appearance is everything. Reality is nothing.
Well, I remember one time I went into church and I had bought a pair of black shoes and a pair of brown, and they were the same kind of shoe. And I I looked down and I saw I had one brown and one black shoe. I kind of tried to cover with my I think I had pants on, you know. Nobody noticed. I don't know if anybody really looks at shoes, so you know, unless you're a shoe hound or something and you seeing if people have cheap or expensive shoes. I don't know.
Yeah.
I went to a service once in jeans, and they said, "You can't come in jeans like this. Next time, you better wear a suit." So I went to Goodwill. I didn't have much money at the time, and the only suit that they had it was 2 sizes too big. So I had to go to that congregation with a suit that was too big for me and looked horrible. But I couldn't wear jeans.
I guess they didn't read the book of James.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
read that, I mean, that seems to apply to anybody, though, you know, because
Yeah.
if you're gonna, if you got this poor man that comes in, he can't afford a nice suit, and you're going to tell him he can't come to your church,
Yeah.
you know? Well, why doesn't the congregation say, "Hey, you know, we're going to buy you a suit. You know, what size do you wear or something?" You know, if they really
Yeah.
care that much about it.
And in the meantime, sit in the front row, please.
Yeah. I think that's why Calvary Chapel took off so much, because they just wanted everybody to come in, you know.
Yeah.
At least his wife did at first. And they kind of got known for that, you know, they weren't into what you look like.
All right, I got to eat, you guys. It's been fun.
Thank you, Richard.
Later, Richard. Bye.
See you, Deb.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, I'm reading Ephesians 2:10.
Yeah.
You know what that one is?
For grace you are saved.
For his achievement are we,
Oh, yeah.
being created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God makes ready beforehand, that we should be walking in them. And I was reading that last night. I've been reading through the epistles more, and I thought, wow, if that doesn't say God does it all, I don't know what does. If he made it all beforehand, then where is our ability and work in all that?
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was reading in Ephesians 4:30 to 32 that I thought was a good one for me, because I tend to have a pissy attitude at times.
Yeah, I was going to speak to you about that.
Yeah. You better not, because I'll get even pissier. You know? Yeah. Oh, well. And do not be causing sorrow to the Holy Spirit of God, by which you are sealed for the day of deliverance. Let all bitterness and fury and anger and clamor and calumny be taken away from you, with all malice, yet become kind to one another, tenderly compassionate, dealing graciously among yourselves, according as God also in Christ deals graciously with you. And I was thinking about myself, how I'm not always kind to people like I should be, or tenderly compassionate. I guess to me that means not judging everything that they say harshly, tenderly compassionate. So they have a different opinion from me, or they see the scripture a little different, and I think I'm right and they think they're right, but when is it the right time to argue about something or bring it up or whatever? I'm not saying we shouldn't, but I'm just saying in normal life, on our channel, these people come here and they know what they're getting, Jill and all those guys, when they come here, they know what we believe, so they're going to get it right back. But I'm just talking about normal conversations if you have with other people. What point do you, well, I don't believe that's true, so. Now here's one that when you were talking about interpreting the Ephesians 5:10 says, and be not joint participants in the unfruitful acts of darkness, yet rather be exposing them also, for it is a shame even to speak of the hidden things occurring done by them. Boy, that verse can really be taken all over the place, it seems to me,
Yeah, what do you make of it at the moment?
The unfruitful acts of darkness, things that are hidden, things that people don't want you to know about. So at what point do we start exposing these things? You know what I mean? So somebody might be doing something that you don't think is quite right. When do we start exposing? It would be their doctrine, I would think.
Like Alexander the Coppersmith.
Yeah. Well, and then it talks about things being exposed to the light, because once you get the light shining on something, it's hard to, you got cockroaches in your house. No, I don't. Well, there's the light and there's the cockroaches, in the dark, you don't see them, but when the lights are on, there they are. They of course they scurry pretty quickly, but I'm just saying the light is what brings out all the evil and darkness. When there's no light on it, then they can get do all kinds of things. But
I suspect that when Paul calls out Alexander the Coppersmith, even giving him that name, Paul is being dry and sarcastic.
Yeah.
Because I think he was a silversmith.
Uh-huh.
And to call him a coppersmith would be an insult,
Yeah, because that's cheaper stuff.
He's catering to the trailer trash, right?
Yeah.
They can't afford a silver idol, so they buy a copper idol from him. Oh, yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Yeah, Paul does have a kind of a dry sense of humor, but you can see it there when you're reading. He's kind of sarcastic at some of these people, and he wasn't afraid to kick them in the butt when they needed it. So he did that with the Corinthians. And Well, I guess I'll be heading out. Go over
Mhm.
to the chat section. So
See you later, alligator.
nice talking to you, and thanks for letting me read.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be a reader today. Thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe one of these days I'll come on and I'll be a thinker and a thinker and a reader and a leader. What else are you, Ace?
Yeah. Whenever the Martians land on the Earth, they say, "Take me to your reader." What?
See, then they'll take them to you, and this is your reader. Oh, you mean leader? Oh, yeah.
Leader. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
no, he's the reader. But you'll learn more from this reader than you ever will from your leaders, or from our leaders.
You know what the Martians said to the baker when they landed on Earth?
You got any hot cross buns?
No, they said, "Take me to your kneader."
Yeah. Sounds like one of those jokes I have in Jokes for Kids book, but they're
Sorry,
funny.
sorry. Forgive
Huh?
me. Forgive me.
No, really. Some of them are kind of funny, though. I was reading it. I thought, well, this is kind of cute,
You have it nearby?
Well, I think I might. I don't have it right nearby, but I'll go look for it.
Yeah, then you can lay some on us.
Okay, this is called Laugh Out Loud by Rob Elliott. What kind of teeth cost money?
What?
Buck teeth. What is the noisiest game you can play?
What?
Racquetball.
God.
Here's a knock one for you. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Pastor.
Castor who?
Pastor potatoes, I'm hungry. That's not very funny though. Anyway. But I like knock knock jokes myself. Okay. What did the mother lion say to her cubs before dinner?
What?
Shall we pray? Prey. That's a dumb one. How did the French fry propose to the hamburger?
How?
He gave her an onion ring. That one's kind of funny. At least to me. Okay, here's another knock knock. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Canoe.
Canoe who?
Canoe, come out and play. You. Yeah. What do you call a monkey that won't behave?
What?
A bad boon. That's. What do you call a cow that doesn't give milk?
What?
A milk dud. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Eileen.
Eileen who?
I'm so tall, I lean over to get through the door. That one's not very good.
Oh man, I'll forgive you.
I haven't read most of these, so. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Shelby.
Shelby who?
Shall be coming around the mountain when she comes.
Jeez, knock knock business here.
I know they're not. We used to have better knock knocks when I was a kid.
Makes me sweat. What?
Oh my God, there's a couple other bad ones. I won't tell you those. What happened to the beans when they showed up late to work?
What happened at the beach?
To the beans.
The bean. What happened to the bean when it showed up late for work? What?
They got canned.
Oh my God.
That's a dumb one. Oh boy. How did
You're making me regret asking you to read these.
I know. It's a let's see how many pages this is. It looks like it's a couple 100-something pages. So.
Oh my God. This is torture.
Okay, why did the cowboy go out and buy a wiener dog?
Why?
Because someone told him to get along, little doggy.
Oh my God. On that note, boys, we're going to close up shop
Yeah.
and see if we can go make sense. See if we can find something more interesting in the refrigerator.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'll clean my toilet. Anyway, I enjoyed your essay today.
Thanks for reading it.
Yeah. And what we should start doing with the naysayers is getting some scriptures ready, and then we can all read them together, because they just want to go with philosophy and what they think, and they don't even listen to what we say, or any of us, you know what I mean? So that might be something to think about on hand. But well, it was nice talking to you.
You too, Deborah.
So we'll see you when I see you.
Bye-bye.
Hopefully tomorrow or tonight or whenever.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're coming on tonight, I'll see you tonight.
Bye-bye. So thank you, boys and girls, for stopping by. Give me one of those thumbs up things, you know what I mean? And then leave comments, because I like reading the comments. It's kind of like, an open discussion room all by itself. And and if you like somebody else's comments, go ahead and give them a thumbs up too in the comment section. And then share this with somebody. And if you're on the email list and I send out these letters to you about why I love the Concordant Little New Testament, feel free to forward it on. And if you're not on the email list and you want to get on the email list, figure it out how to talk to me. And then grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. Bye for now.